you for calling the agency equipment rollout hotline. Please listen through the entire message as some of our options may have changed since your last call. For agency enterprise workstation release, press 4. For questions on the Aero 12 deployment, press 5. To establish or change an estimated time of arrival, press 1. To record on-site arrival, press 2. To record a job completion time, press 3. If your install is not complete but you are leaving for the day, press 4. To report a problem with an install or to speak with a State Farm representative, press 5. To order trunk stock or to speak with a representative from your home office, press 6. To reset your password, press 7. To repeat this menu, press 8. For IBM, press 1. For Getronics, press 2. Please wait while we transfer your call.
I just recently completed a project for IBM and State Farm. And State Farm, by the way, is the largest network in the world per node. And what you just heard was an automated menu for my project service desk. The service desk, which is the lifeblood of our rollout, it's our central routing interface to the back-end help desk, tech support, product ordering, and much, much more. In this nugget, we're going to talk about the critical function of ITIL service management, and that is Service Desk. In this nugget on ITIL Service Desk, we're going to look at 5 key areas. First of all, we'll define Service Desk and compare it to some other popular entities like the Help Desk and the Call Center. We'll look at the functions and activities of Service Desk. We'll look at the 3 different types of Service Desk rollouts, Service Desk personnel, and some critical success factors according to the ITIL. I think one of the best ways to define what Service Desk is to first define what Service Desk isn't, how it compares to things that you might be fully aware of, like the Help Desk or a call center. By comparing Service Desk to entities like Help Desk and Call Center, it can help us get a better idea of this comprehensive solution. With ITIL, we move beyond the traditional help desk, the historic troubleshooting desk typically for incident response and incident management. Help desk is not a single point of contact for our users or our customers. In the same sense, a call center typically handles large inbound or outbound call volume. In an outbound standpoint, it might be telesales. On an inbound standpoint, it might be customer service. Service Desk has a larger responsibility than telesales or incident report. By definition, Service Desk is the consolidated, comprehensive, single interface between users and IT. Now, in your organization or your experience, this concept of Service Desk, which is going beyond call centers and help desks, may not be familiar to you. That's because Service Desk is a concept that has not been rolled out in many organizations. That's one of the major benefits of ITL. Now, earlier in the intro, I showed you a good example of an automated service desk where you have that single interface between the customer, who is myself, a contracted vendor, and all of the different IT services that are part of the IBM State Farm project that I'm working on. So that Service Desk consolidates into one menu, the routing interface, to get me to other areas that are automated or to other live personnel in the overall IT service management. Let's talk more about what Service Desk is. A service desk that is running at full throttle is an important role in the organization's user and customer support. It's the kind of front-end office for all the other IT departments. It handles all the many customer queries without having to contact certain specialized personnel. From a user standpoint, the service desk is a single point of contact in the IT organization. This is going to guarantee that they find the right person to help them with their request or their issue or their problem. In other words, it's not up to the user or the customer to find the right person to solve their problem. A properly implemented service desk will handle that for them and make it easy to find the menu, the automated service, or the live person to handle the issue. As you can see in this diagram, a fully supported service desk is going to handle activities that are related to a number of basic ITIL processes. Primarily at the top, it's kind of the extension of the traditional help desk in the sense that it provides incident management. The service desk is going to record, log, and monitor incidents, as well as coordinate third-party activities that are involved in incident handling. A service desk may also play a key role in the installation of software or the installation of hardware, and therefore be responsible for providing an interface for change management or release management. A service desk may also do verification of the details of configuration management. It can take on standard requests, standard installation requests, relocation requests, the type of things that go into change management. And the service desk can provide information to users about supported products and services that they have access to. If the service desk isn't authorized to meet a request, it could then tell the user and notify the service level management or escalate to higher levels at any point in the process when necessary. Remember, ITIL Service Desk is a framework. You don't have to implement all these different aspects of Service Desk, but regardless of which of these components you do implement, there are some major goals of the Service Desk that you need to understand. First of all, the Service Desk is the central point of contact. That's why we have it here in the middle, okay? It's the central point of contact between the user and the IT services of the organization. IT services and IT service management, whether it be service level agreement management, release management, configuration management, change management, and incident management. It is there to handle all of the incidents and the requests. Now, when I say handle, it could also serve as a routing portal. It handles the request, and then it routes the request or the ticket to the proper process, department, or area. The service desk provides an interface for all of the other activities like changes, problems, releases, service levels, and IT service continuity management. Basically, for every need that an end user or a customer has of IT, there should be an acceptable response, either automated or personal, from their service desk. For every possible activity that affects the customer or the end user's work, there should be a proactive communication from the service desk, communicating expectations and the right process and the right location for results. Basically, the service desk is the perception of IT from the end user standpoint. And that makes it very important. Next, let's talk about the functions and activities of the service desk. Keep in mind this is a framework. These are guidelines. So if you have a service desk in place now or you're looking at deploying a service desk, you may implement some or all of these functions or activities. But one of the first main purposes of a service desk is to enhance the user access to the IT services, to make the access to all information technology services for the customer and the user as painless as possible. The service desk should be the first line liaison, the first line interface to these services. Another function is to provide faster response time, faster turnaround for requests for trouble tickets, while in the process recording these incidents, tracking these incidents, as well as these complaints. Now, when I use the word incident, and we're going to look in the next Nugget movie about incident handling, but we sometimes think about incidents as I've got a problem, or my workstation has crashed, or my printer's not working. But really, an incident is, and I'm going to define this later, but it's really anything that uses the resources of IT services, as well as complaints. Again, another goal here, another activity, is to improve the communication between the end user and the IT services, to enhance teamwork by informing customers or end users about the status, the progress, the assessment, as well as changes and change management. This can be improving communication and passing along information on short-term as well as long-term status, progress, and assessment. The service desk may also be used to escalate procedures based on service level agreements that we have with our customers, our partners, and our vendors. So the service desk can also be part of an escalation process. It's that first line liaison that basically reports and delineates the request or the incidents, and then it can escalate them to the proper department or business unit. Service desk can also be used to manage requests, tickets, as well as change management life cycles as well. We also want to use the service desk to help us coordinate with third-party solution providers and vendors as well. We might even customize a PBX or IP telephony front end for that third-party solution provider. And again, the goal of all of this is to increase productivity. Next, we want to explore the 3 different types of service desk rollouts or deployments, and we're going to focus on these one at a time. We'll look first at the centralized service desk, then the local service desk or distributed service desk, and then finally the virtual service desk. The centralized service desk model is going to have more of a linear aspect in the sense that the user site is going to send information, requests, and problems to a centralized IT service desk where it has centralized responsibility for accepting tickets, accepting incidents and problems, recording the service calls, and then routing those to the proper area or business unit. It will also be involved with centralized monitoring and escalation to other tiers, either horizontally or vertically. We'll talk about that escalation a little bit later on. Centralized Service Desk provides for a unified business operations support, and it's going to use a single, unified, common incident report system and incident recording system. The goal of Service Desk in the centralized model is to bridge the physical aspect of the organization, the physical aspect of IT, with the operational aspect via centralized communication. The main objectives of centralized service desk is to have rapid response and close proximity to the users. These are main objectives. If you look at the diagram down here, the way a centralized service desk would operate is you've got your user site, which links directly to the IT service desk, which will also be a front end or an interface to the business operations support desk. So the user site has no direct link to the business ops support desk. Also, the IT service desk is going to function with a single group of users. And then here on the ultimate back end is what we call the production and operations. The second model is the local service desk model or the distributed model, which typically is going to be an evolution from the centralized service desk. This model still has a centralized service desk, but you're often going to spread these distributed service desks across several sites, floors, buildings, or even across different locations in the metropolitan area, network, or internationally. The goal here is to get the service desk very close to all end users, but you're going to have multiple service desks. In this example here, you can see I've got local service desk A, local service desk B, and local service desk 3. And then, of course, I'm dividing up my users either according to the business unit, geographically, by their role, a wide variety of criteria. Often in this design, the centralized service desk will be the central routing point to the local support or to the local contact points for incident tracking and incident monitoring. This may also be a call center solution where the centralized service desk is a call center, either automated or with an individual person. This is a newer concept. And this is a lot like what I come in contact with State Farm. My centralized service desk is an automated system, and then that is going to push me down to a local service desk or a local help desk. The virtual service desk is really the model for the international organization. It's actually one I have quite a bit of experience with. Let me give you the scenario. I used to work for a company called Knowledge Pool, which was a division of Fujitsu. And they basically had a global presence for online training and mentoring. Now, what they did was this. They had 3 locations. They had a location in England, actually near Windsor Castle. Then they had a location in Dallas, then a location in the Far East in Singapore. And so what they would do is this. They would have this virtualized service desk that used a follow-the-sun concept, providing global, around-the-clock support. So you had several local service desks virtualized as a single telecommunications unit. This is the modern, specialized version of a local service desk. This can be done in a single organization, in a single location, or it can be expanded globally. The problem with this is, and it was a problem for Knowledge Pool, was that it was difficult to provide on-site support. What they would do is they would have these support phone numbers that were the same phone numbers, but they would be rerouted as the network centers transitioned according to their business hours. So for example, when I was working for Knowledge Pool, depending upon when my shift was, when I called the support number, I may be talking to the UK, or if their shift was over, I would be talking to Singapore. Now, since I was accessing the service desk, I was the customer or the client. And from my point of view, the number was the same. I didn't notice the transition, except for possibly the change in accents. This is an excellent solution for large multinational corporations. Let me give you another example of what happened with State Farm. What they would do to provide on-site support, and this is the same thing that you might see in other multinational organizations, is this. They may have a service desk and support desk, but to do the service calls on-site, they would contract with a third-party vendor. For example, with State Farm, they would contract with IBM or Gentronics. As a matter of fact, I've worked as an on-site technician for IBM as a contractor for State Farm, following up on service calls and trouble tickets from their centralized service desk or help desk. And realize with that scenario, if the third-party service call is from Gentronics or from IBM, each one of those companies are going to have their own service desk. For example, they might call a toll-free number and they'll be asked, are you with Gentronics? Are you with IBM? If I'm with IBM, I get routed to the IBM service desk to handle the contracts, the service level agreements that State Farm has, for example, with IBM or Gentronics. So you can customize this solution based on your third-party vendors, based on your SLAs, or based on the fact that you're offering an in-house technical support solution. And I want to emphasize here, this is not a trivial real-world example, because State Farm Insurance on a per-node basis is the largest network in the world, only rivaled by the U.S. government. Again, this is a very valid real-world ITIL solution. So the virtualized concept here means you're providing one single virtualized interface or access, either through the web or through an 800 number. And then again, that represents multiple service desks which can provide follow-the-sun support around the world. Again, this is a global solution. Now, along with this service desk framework, you're going to have different types of personnel, different categories. And the personnel that you do have will be determined by the overall goals, the mission, the structure of your service desk for your particular solution. A lot of this will tie into the human resources aspect of your organization. But for example, you may have what we call call center personnel. This is going to be a support unit that records calls only, okay? Call center does not provide solutions. They're an inbound call center. Calls are routed to the specialist department, can be routed either horizontally or vertically to deal with the problems. In some situations, the recording and routing of the calls could be automated using a voice response system, and I'm sure you've run into that scenario before. Next, we have what are called unskilled service desk. An unskilled service desk is kind of like a call center where you record the calls in general terms, most of them getting routed immediately. An unskilled service desk will be a dispatch. And if it's going to handle calls itself on an unskilled basis, typically they'll be fundamentally simple, scripted, standardized procedures. These will often be scripted and monitored with experienced managers overseeing the entire process. One of the downsides of this unskilled or call recording process is that it takes longer from the end user point of view, and the first call resolution rates are typically a whole heck of a lot lower than you get with the third type, and that is the skilled service desk. The skilled service desk is typically the tier 1 service desk with a greater skill set and experience than the unskilled or call recording desk. They can use documented solutions and scripts to resolve many of the incidents, or they can route some of the incidents to support teams or higher tiers. With a skilled service desk, the first call resolution rate will typically be higher than with an unskilled service desk. And of course, the third type of personnel are the expert technicians, the expert service desk. These are typically higher tiers that are getting escalated incidents from the skilled service desk or an unskilled service desk. They have specialized knowledge of the full IT infrastructure, and they also have the expertise, experience, and knowledge base to independently resolve most incidents. Next, let's talk about the personal attributes of the call center or the service desk personnel. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this slide, so you may want to stop or pause along the way and jot down a few notes. First of all, your help desk or your service desk personnel must be articulate. They must be organized and focused on the needs of the end user. They should be very well trained at the outset in interpersonal skills, patient interpersonal skills. They're going to have to look at the process of going through and using and implementing scripts. And these scripts will be put together by management or supervisors. These scripted responses need to use clear, business-oriented language. You want to minimize or remove any technical language that may confuse the end user or the user. In the scripts and in the responses, you want to assign a ticket number or a reference number and make sure that the user or the customer writes down that reference number. You want to monitor your personnel for their meeting of end user expectations for response time, as well as to fully gather all the information about the incident or the problem and contact information from the user. Your service desk personnel needs to understand the business objectives. They need to understand their role in the bigger picture. And they need to understand that the user's problems, the customer's issues, directly affect the business and the business bottom line. Remember, there is no support desk without the user or without the customer. Without them, there's no need for the support desk or service desk role. The personnel of the service desk may need to be bilingual, and they need to be willing to find the answers, focusing on end user needs with a genuine desire to offer first-class service. Remember, first impressions are tantamount, and that should be taught to the service desk personnel. They should learn how to handle stressful situations and to work patiently and not to exacerbate emotional end users or emotional customers. And then finally, personnel should never talk down to the end user. Remember, they may be non-technical, but they are probably experts in their field, okay? And just because they aren't experts and they're not technical people, it doesn't mean they're ignorant or not as intelligent. You know, when I think of what not to do as a service desk personnel, I think about that skit on Saturday Night Live that Jimmy Fallon did, where he's Nick Burns, the company's computer guy. He just says just all the wrong, most obnoxious, arrogant things. Things like this.
If you want it not to work, yeah. Oh, it's the computer that's stupid, not you, right? It's the email that's stupid, not you, right? They teach this type of stuff on Blue's Clues. Hey, thanks, yeah, instead of playing a game, God forbid we read the manual. Was that so hard? Hey, you know, they're training monkeys down at the zoo to use computers. Maybe I'll sign you up for a class. I'm gonna go down to the third floor. I gotta teach those buffoons a new program. I'm out of here. Oh, by the way, you're welcome.
The goal of personnel should be to help users add value to their jobs. And finally, the service desk is the ultimate end user perception of information technology. Finally, What are some critical factors for service desk success? Well, the service desk personnel and the management all the way up to the top in implementing the solution has to understand the business needs and the business goals and how they align with customer requirements. There has to be a commitment on the part of management to invest in training for the support teams, for the service desk staff. You definitely don't want any of your employees coming off like Nick Burns, the company computer guy that we just looked at. To be successful, we have to clearly define the objectives of the service desk and what the deliverables are. Is the service desk just a front-end routing to third-party vendors like IBM and Gentronics? Or is it a local service desk that's going to provide local technical support and local service? Is it a distributed model? Is it a centralized model? Is it a virtual model? What are the service level agreements? These need to be clearly defined. They should be practical as well. They should have broad buy-in from the top all the way down to the bottom. Supervisory, middle management should be part of your overall corporate policy. They also need to be reviewed and assessed on a regular basis, possibly a quarterly basis. And the benefits of service desk have to go directly to the bottom line, making the business more profitable or the organization more effective and improving the experience of the customer or the user. The service desk must be easy to reach and fast to reach. And the service desk performance should be ready before you advertise to your customers, to the users, to the vendor that they can actually access that service desk. So a pilot testing process and a full rollout should be in place before you advertise the service desk solution. In this nugget, we discovered the foundations of the service desk concept as we looked at the service desk versus the help desk and the call center. We looked at the functions and activities of service desk, the three different types of service desk rollouts, service desk personnel attributes, and finally, some critical success factors. I hope this CBT Nugget has been informative for you. I want to thank you for viewing.